This is the third video orienting you to lab study in the histology course. This third video will focus on the use of Biolucida lab specimens. And remember that if you haven't done it yet, you should do it very quickly. You go to the lab resources and you go to Biolucida, and then you set up the clouds, and once you set up those clouds and access for taking quizzes and exams as well as lab study, then you're prepared to utilize the virtual slide specimens within Biolucida using your Biolucida viewer, the free client side viewer that you downloaded and installed on your computer. So actually this video that I'm making right now is going to appear right below here as Lab Orientation 3, Orientation to Biolucida Specimens. Okay, so let's go back to the module folders, and there in Module 1, as will be the case in all of modules, you will have the assignments for lab. But notice here, in addition to the lab assignments using WebMic and the companion lab manual, the specimens in Biolucida Lab 1 should also be studied in order to get the feel and experience of interacting with virtual slide specimens. Now you're going to be tested on virtual slide specimens, so it's a part of the course and it's a part of earning your points. So that each quiz has a part A, which are WebMic specimens and text questions about lecture and lab, but part B are always Biolucida lab specimens. They may be the ones you study, or they may be different ones, but as long as you stick to not trying to memorize images and then try to see that memorized image in a quiz or exam, but you learn the criteria that you have to remember to recognize one structure from another structure, one cell from another structure, etc., etc. And we have some videos that will guide you through that also. But this focuses on Biolucida. So once you have that set up, I'm just pointing out here that in addition to the WebMic study, you are required to utilize those specimens for Biolucida. Now, within this very folder, there are Biolucida lab specimen videos. And so with each of the videos, each of the specimens I'm going to show you in this Module 1 lab, we have made an overview of all the specimens, and then for each one we've made a video to kind of guide you through a way to look at these specimens and study them. So I'm going to move this out of the way now, and what I have here is what you will see when you access using the Biolucida viewer and the cloud you set up to study lab specimens. In Module 1 lab, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 specimens. And so you're going to go to each specimen and you click on the specimen one time. If you click two, it will not load properly. Always one click to access a Biolucida specimen, whether you're studying in lab or you're actually taking a quiz or exam. Now also always click on the annotation tool up here, and you can adjust this so it goes up like that. And we've given a minimal annotation here, and you will see there's glandular epithelium, covering epithelium, connective tissue, artery, smooth muscle, etc., etc. Those things that you will be studying in your first module, you have opportunity to explore those. And the advantage here is if you want to look at glandular epithelium, you can center it like this, and you can either use the plus or minus keys up here, or you can use your mouse wheel and go up to the highest magnification. Now we're not giving ultimate detail annotation here. You're getting that at WebMic and your lectures. So now when you're looking at something like like this, you are hopefully beginning to recognize that this is epithelial tissue here. And if you've got two layers of nuclei, which means this is stratified epithelium, and the surface layer cells are more cuboidal, so this would be stratified cuboidal epithelium, and these are actually ducts of a sweat gland. And over here, these are actually the cells that produce the oil and the perspiration that pours out on your skin when you perspire. And so I just used that one example, and of course here's a trachea and esophagus, and here on these annotations we ask you a question. Can you identify the tissue here? Well, this is designed to get you to begin thinking about the criteria and thinking about what you've learned in lecture and in lab, and then look at this and try to come up with the answer. Now, if you're really puzzled, you need help, capture this image, go to the discussion board, go under the lab section, and I think we have a section for Biolucida Lab, and post your image and ask a question about it, and we'll respond. We can't just dose out complete information all the time, because we're challenging you to think in this course and not just memorize something that you have seen in the past and say, oh, if I see that again, I'll remember. No, you may not, and you'll be stumped on an exam like students do every semester. So we're making an effort here to get you to think through the diagnostic features of one structure, cell, tissue, organ from another. Okay, so that's orientation to the third video orientation. Concludes with reminding you that you've got to set up the cloud. It will be helpful to look at these videos, and then you can polish off your study of lab and say, for example, this is stratified squamous epithelium, non-keratinized. So I just told you the answer to that, and then you can open up another browser window and you can do a Google search and put stratified squamous, and you can even put non-keratinized or keratinized epithelium. So, and then click on the, or you can read information about it here. You can look at images, multiple images, and if you do that, and you always think about the fact that these are multiple layers of cells stratified, and as they get closer to the surface, they get flatter and flatter, and then you will remember the key feature you learned about stratified squamous or any stratified epithelium. Then the name of the epithelium beyond stratified is the name for the shape of the cells at the surface. And here's a diagram. So you see how you can use the resources we provide in WebMic. Then we go to Biolucida and virtual light specimens, and then you go to the internet, and all that reinforces one another. And once you go through that and you view the lecture a couple times and go through the PDF of the lecture, you ought to be prepared to take your first attempt at all module quizzes. And remember this, that we give 2 attempts for each of the module quizzes, and we keep the highest grade. It's all designed to help you learn, so you can take your first attempt after you've done the studying, and early in the module period, which in the summer is very short, and then study, and then go back and take your second attempt. And you ought to be able to come out with a pretty reasonable score. You're also going to get 2 attempts on the midterm, and then the final exam is only 1 attempt, because that's really trying to get you at the end of the course and see what you really have retained. Okay, so I'm going to conclude this video, and I'll go back to the original course website where we went into Module 1, and that's where we were. And then down here, of course, are the graded practice quizzes, and Module 1 is here, and you have to note that these graded practice quizzes, for which you get 3 attempts, are always due a few days before the definitive module quiz, for which you get 2 attempts, is due. The questions in the graded practice quiz are made up mostly of the questions at the end of the lectures in the modules, the lecture quizzes at the end of each narrative lecture, and we have compiled them here and enabled you to learn some points as you learn. Good luck, and hope you find this video helpful.